Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Hockey Talk Tonight. If you were here now and not here last week, you missed out on all of the episode 69 memes, as the 69th season is now open for business. But welcome back, Smith. Welcome to the show, Jess. Jess, audience, Jess, you all probably know each other already. Dwight is currently blue screening of death. He will be with us shortly, I presume, but he is an enigma, and we'll see what happens. Thank you for coming out tonight, Jess. How has your season been? How's your summer been? You've got a lot on your plate, as you always do, but seen some success recently in Nevada. How's that been?
Well, lots of fun. I apologize to everyone for my voice in advance. I'm drinking tea. I'm working on it. That was very exciting. You know, it had been a minute since I got to manage it there. I felt like we were close a couple of times in the life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Finally got it done, so that was fun.
You had mentioned, at least to me, I don't know how public that information is, but you are also Winnipeg's coach.
Yeah.
Has one sort of helped you out in the other, or has it been a learning experience for both leagues as you've gone along?
I mean, it was at first because, I had the knowledge in six to go to the SHL with. It's always on another level, but I think I'm pretty much in the same place now. I guess I've got two teams to sort of live test on, but
Yeah.
just throw stuff at the wall, see what happens.
So while Winnipeg was on the upswing, you were able to test with them and take that information back to Nevada, and now if you cycle back with Nevada through a down year, you can learn.
Yeah, we'll just see what happens. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the more I do it, the more I'm learning that it really is just two completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
What works in one place does not work in the other, and
Mm-hmm.
we figured that out because I tried what I did in Nevada that worked so inexplicably well last season, and we tried it in Winnipeg, and it was just
Yeah.
not great. So
Have you? I guess. Do you think that's because of the TPE levels across both leagues, or do you think that's because of the types of players that you see, or what?
I'm thinking more and more that it's just that, and this is maybe me wishful thinking, that you're building a team together and doing things that work for that team matters way more now than just knowing whatever the meta is and being able to plug that in, which I love that. I like, figuring out what works for Winnipeg that may not necessarily work in Nevada. That's actually super rewarding.
Mm-hmm. And I guess you also run Sweden. I forgot to mention that, as all the teams that you are in charge of in some way or another. The IAHF has lagged a little bit behind the rest of the SHL as far as picking up FHM 8. What was your perspective on that? Would you have rather made the jump earlier, or did it not really matter to you that much?
I think I don't really think it made that big of a difference. I don't know, maybe there was maybe a little window where people could have gotten a little bit of a jump on it before everything was explicitly stated.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is the same, but not so much. I think it's way more of a crapshoot in IIHF, just because you have in Winnipeg or Nevada, I can look and see this is what's been working for a whole week now.
Yeah.
And I can tweak that. Whereas in IIHF, it's just kind of, okay, I hope this works.
Yeah. There's not a lot of time to react to anything going on.
Because even if you lose all your games, you don't know if you just got a bad roll that day.
Yeah.
You don't really have a whole large sample size to test off of.
And even if you go undefeated in group stage, that means absolutely jack shit for.
This is just the pain of Sweden group right here.
That's right. Feels bad.
Norway, third place.
No, Sweden always gets the third and the fourth place.
Yeah,
I know.
that's just our job is to dominate the round robin and then just be somebody's upset story.
That's right.
We're the boogeyman with the target on the back.
Yeah.
That's right.
I guess ACAP had asked it of the four of us last week. You have a couple different perspectives. One as a player, one as a rookie mentor, and then the perspectives of running teams and running the league. So you might have a lot of different varying perspectives. We shared our GM perspectives a little bit on FHM last week. How, I guess, have you seen the last two seasons from a managerial side, but also from somebody responsible for the health of the league?
Yeah, that's been a tricky one because I think it's not really a secret that one of the bigger changes that we made right off the bat with the new commissioner was the contract tier changes,
Mm-hmm.
and that being something that perhaps disproportionately affected my team a little harder.
Yeah.
That was kind of a weird situation to be in, where I'm like, okay, I mean, like they're complaining at me, and I don't blame them. This is like a radical change that kind of screwed over some stuff that they had been working on.
Yeah.
But also recognizing that it is probably what is best for the league as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
We want player movement, we want all that, and being able to kind of compartmentalize those is always hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same with, I think people think that I have like all of this deep insider FHM8 knowledge in HO that I have to like shelf or something, but like I really don't. There's not.
Teach us your ways. We know it's in there. Teach us your ways.
We tested for parity. That's what we tested for. We didn't test to see, is checking still OP?
Yeah.
Like we didn't. That was not what we were looking at. And and I think if you ask most people in HO, like we don't have the file password. We don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want anything to do with that. So we're just as much learning along with everybody else, just hopefully guiding the ship in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I guess, and I mean maybe you do, and it's not necessarily something that you can really spill. But do you have, I guess, indicators that you're kind of keeping an eye on as far as like, if we see these things happening, that's a sign that like things are getting unhealthy, as like sort of precursors or canaries?
I wouldn't say we have like KPIs or anything, but there's definitely stuff that we're keeping an eye on. We as hard as it is to answer everyone who raises a concern, we do hear them.
Yeah.
And we do discuss a lot of them, especially when there's overlap. I know one thing that we've been talking about that there may be more discussions somewhere soon that we've been working on is just that like we've been noticing, I think defensive scoring is down.
Yeah.
As compared to forward scoring. So like that is something we've been keeping tabs on and kind of fielding options to see, hey, what can we do about this?
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something we're looking at.
Yeah, because you definitely have like tools at your disposal. Because like we've got precedent for like capping different attributes across different positions, and like while it's not the cleanest method, there are definitely a lot of variables to play with from a balance standpoint.
For sure. And there's a balance there too, where I'm always wanting to, like I want to know everything before we make a big decision.
Yeah.
And there's just like a lot of letting go that I've had to learn to do here because, like they'll be like, no, we don't want to test either. We don't want to have that. We don't want to have the insider knowledge there because there's no way that just like stays with us.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna take that to our teams, and we don't want the risk for that.
Yeah.
So it's like if there ever came a time where we would be, like, it would have to be something incredibly major
Mm-hmm.
for us to start doing a whole lot of like wholesale testing to see what's gonna change.
Yeah. Which
So right now we are just watching, like most people are, I think.
Yeah. I guess that kind of, in some ways, puts a nail in the coffin for the idea of archetypes right away. And that, like, you might be able to, like, put existing players into archetypes, but you can't necessarily balance that before releasing it, and it would just lead to a mess until you got it under control, and that's not something you can really, like, push to live in a way.
Exactly, yeah. like, I mean, even if we wanted to do that, we just need more real world data.
Yeah.
Like, and you can test all you want, but until you have it out there in the wild, and there's 20 different sets of hands on it doing whatever weird thing they're going to come up with next week.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what to anticipate there.
That makes sense. Obviously, we've seen a lot of like positive effects from the change on a presentation level. Like we saw, like a big shift in like the viability of our index. How I guess how pleased are you with the presentation and the accessibility of things in the league at this point? I think at this point come close to rivaling what data existed on the Simon level. There's still some advanced stuff maybe that's not super visible, but I guess where do you see that as a concern and as a priority?
When you say, like, what are you referring to? Like, that's not visible.
I was gonna say, like, with regards to like the meta level of the league, it's a little hard to track things like TPE, team stats, things like that are like one or two steps removed. Where the API might be getting there soon, but there's still some things where you need access to the file, or you need to compile a bunch of spreadsheets together to accurately get at like how teams are performing relative to each other on like the power play or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something that is a weak point for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just like this week, I was just like, Jeffy, go make me these spreadsheets, please. I don't know what to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that. I would love for that to be more accessible to people. I think there are some larger projects that are being worked on right now that are probably a little bit more pressing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love for there to be a better way. And I think a lot of that also has to do with how FHM outputs data in like a format that is just straight up useless unless you like know what to do with CSVs.
Yeah.
I'm like, I open this and I'm like, okay, cool. This is just numbers. I don't know what this is. So like, yeah, I mean, there's some tutorials and stuff I think people put together for like how to do stuff with those CSVs. But yeah, I wish it was easier to read.
Obviously, like we feel that as as a more managerial side than anything on like the HO side. Dwight, you obviously spend a lot of time not at this point testing, but you've spent a lot of time in FHM in general. Mostly on 6. I'm not going to throw you under the bus and say that you're out there testing. But you have.
I'm gonna have to ban Dwight right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do live on Hockey Talk.
Yeah, but
the first person banned for testing in FHM 8.
Yeah.
Save me from myself.
But as somebody that Dwight, you dig deep into how your team's running on a day-to-day basis. You're oftentimes monitoring things and making changes on a pretty frequent basis, or at least you were. How is the visibility of that information? How important do you think that is to somebody GMing, or can you kind of grasp it from just the site index and from watching sims?
So I've learned to just not make changes in the middle of the season because my team goes on 17-game losing streaks. But exactly like Jess was saying, the regular season is really your testing playground, and it's not really it's really useless outside of like, let's say you're against a lazy team that actually changes nothing. But it is a good indication of like, all right, these players play really well in this style. Like your center has 13 positioning. Hey, don't run the strategy that relies on your center's positioning. So it's a really yeah, I had over 1,000 hours in FHM 6. But
this change was really for Dwight's health more than anything else.
Really, yeah.
Oh, me too. Let me tell you.
As I sit here with like 300 of my own.
Yeah, I'm a far more balanced person. I like to think allows me to do other things. So
I very selfishly never want to test again.
Oh yeah.
I got to
want
the
the knowledge, but I don't want to do the work.
I got to the weird masochist stage of life where I'm like, wow, I've done this so much, I don't know what to do with myself. So that was it was interesting. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes away a lot of the just like the self doubt too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like if like
absolutely.
you know you do all that testing and then you get to 90% success rate in the series and then you get screwed. And you're like, oh, what could I have done differently? What could I have tested differently?
Mm-hmm.
If I'd gotten it to 100%, would we have won that?
Yeah.
And now it's just like, okay, either this is working or it's not working. And
as an aside, I love those takes. I see them in like every sim league at this point, or did see them in the SHL up until the switch. Of like we were testing at blah 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 %. I'm like, y'all realize that like the other team is also making changes.
Yeah.
And like everybody like reverts.
Sometimes they don't, and you still get screwed. Though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like everybody gets to this point of like trying to optimize their team, and they're just like reverting back into like a single player game. I'm like, you have to like imagine that the team you're playing against is doing very similar things to you. Mm-hmm. And like maybe that turns it into a game of rock paper scissors, or maybe they're also just like working on figuring out things that are better for their team, and like you guys are in contention. You're not just like throwing stuff at a wall and then flipping a coin.
Right.
I guess if there's anything that you can tell us, Jess, either from an HO perspective or ideally not tied to your role in HO, what are you looking for like as like the next big thing for the league to undertake? Like, do you want to see different like do you want to see like a recommitment to media, seeing that picked up? Do you want to see improvements to like presentation of things? Do you want to see I guess the easy one is defund the Thunderdome, but what things are you looking forward to out of the league in the next year or so?
Oh gosh. I mean, I've got my like wishful thinking things, and then I've got my things that I hope realistically. Like I hope that this, that FHMA continues to work. I hope that we start to like feel less like we're flying blind, but also like there are still more options than we had in 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like because I mean, nobody wants to be like building a player and to be told, hey, you have to put your points into these 4 things or you're gonna suck. So so I hope that it continues to be viable in that way. I hope we don't break it too soon. I know people are trying. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
But wishful thinking, I want IIHF to matter. I want people to pay more attention to it. I want people to care about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to make that happen, but I get on this soapbox all the time. I think it's like one of the best tools that we have on the site as far as like because you can force player movement all you want.
Yeah.
You can slash the cap. You can make people more expensive. You can do things with contract tiers. You can do all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to make people want to try new things.
Mm-hmm.
Like people have to be open to that. And I think IIHF is a great place for that to start to happen.
Yeah.
Because like I know I've played with people in Sweden that I would never have shared a locker room with otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great because now I'm like, okay, if I was to end up on that team, I know somebody there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like who wants to share a locker room with 7? It sure isn't me.
Like I got recruited by Jess.
I aggressively wooed him in IHF. Okay.
Hey, I also wanted him to come, but it was more of a why go anywhere else?
Winning in the playoffs.
Go anywhere
well,
when you come to Sweden and just get bounced in the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
Yeah, I actually think that IHF holds a really important role that HO should be more invested in that like if HO wants player movement, like the IHF kind of acts as an opposite force to whatever you're doing with player movement. If players aren't moving at all, like you were describing before, getting to see people from other locker rooms, like you get some networking even if people aren't moving. But if you push hard and change a lot of things and end up forcing a lot of player movement, you still have IHF as something that is consistent, that people won't have to move. People aren't changing their IHF teams. You're able to pick friends to play with going into either like your transfer window as a rookie or when you're creating, if like you're coming in as a recreate. It acts as like a really valuable foil to either the stagnancy or the volatility of the SHL as far as player movement goes.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Anything else you guys want to ask Jess specifically? Joy, I know you've had probably 12.5 questions for HO in the last week. Do you want to air any
chance.
of those?
I've been pretty quiet when it comes to questions as of late, I think.
Yeah, been pretty under control.
Yeah.
Tolerable for them.
Everything's been solid. I guess the closest thing or most recent thing was like good job on your handling of the tampering situation that just happened.
That was fun.
That was interesting. I'm sure you guys kind of dreaded being in that situation, but I think it was handled with grace by all parties, so appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate that too. It's never fun to punish people. Like, that's my least favorite part of the job. But, like, you have
exactly.
to, or why have rules?
Exactly.
I will say, as somebody that gets to be, like, I should have warned you ahead of time, but people that are in voice calls with me in the evening, like SHL people in voice calls with me, are way more likely to have some nonsense happen involving them in the SHL. Because
like refreshing recent posts right now.
Yeah. So I was in the voice call with Dwight when when Peach's contract got posted for Buffalo. I was in voice call with Flex when what was it? Yagoi had called somebody up off of QCC or something.
Oh yeah.
Ahead of you, like ahead of Regina playing them.
Yeah.
I feel like there was one other one recently. I'm just like always in a call and just watching this unfold from like really closely on the sidelines.
Be really funny if you were in. It'd be funny if you were in a voice chat with like ACAP or something when some crazy nonsense happens. It's like you're someone you're never in a voice chat with.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, fair warning that something might happen in the next 30 minutes.
Maybe refreshing
I think this all honestly. Yeah, this is all honestly probably started when we were doing Hockey Talk like 2 years ago, and Wasi and Nuke stepped down while we were on stream.
Oh my goodness! That was spicy.
Yeah,
that was.
I remember that.
It's a long-standing tradition.
Long-standing tradition that we get to break insane news on Hockey Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, if you're wanting to ever rewatch that clip is saved on the YouTube, where all of the Hockey Talk VODs are set to automatically upload now. Surprised we have archives again.
Woo.
Let's see. We this week had the trade deadline. Not a lot going on compared to some of the past seasons. We saw one trade in each of a team buying a player from another. In the SHL, we saw Calgary buy Exolate Blickstrom from Edmonton for a first, and we saw St. Louis buy Fuzz off of us in Carolina for 2/3 and a later pick. I guess from everybody's perspective, are you surprised or not at the lack of movement now when it seems like retained contracts in the SHL are a way to success, and in the J when the standings at the top 8 are so tight?
I'm trying to pin down the question here.
Yeah. It was relatively quiet, given
Right, trade deadline.
relatively quiet at the trade deadline. One trade in each league, despite there being what seems like a favorable environment for teams to buy at the deadline.
So I'm going to chime in here. Trade deadlines essentially don't mean too much right now when you can retain, because in the past you could retain player contracts only if they had played half of their initial first season or further. Now you can just retain any sort of contract that was as long as they were on your books previously.
Okay.
When you're re-signing. Since then, we've really only seen at maximum one move per trade deadline. Since that happened, and because all the teams are set and roster movement set is at the very beginning of the season.
That's fair.
I think it partially, and this is just a theory. No data to back this up at all. I think it might, people may be putting more stock into like chemistry and that kind of thing, and not wanting to mess with what they have if it's working. And trying to figure out, okay, I have built this team to work a certain way.
Yeah.
Am I just missing one piece, or is this something where I just need to pick it out with the pieces that I have and trust that it's going to come together?
Yeah. Which I guess comes back to the aspects of A, no test simming, B, flying blind, and C, like trying to build your limited tactics around the roster that you have. So all the things that we were talking about before.
Yeah, and it's hard for a team to say, I've had, and it's kind of along the chemistry lines, I've had this setup, it could be multiple seasons where you've had the same players playing together in the same roles and building that chemistry. And how do you either take someone out of that for a replacement, or move your lines around to where it's hard, especially since you can't test, to figure out what works with the pieces that you're adding or subtracting. So it's kind of just a crapshoot of like, hey, this person is performing really well on another team. If we put him in here, are they going to continue that, or is it just that they're working really well with the chemistry that they've built on that team?
Yeah, and no, honestly, I think that has a lot of merit. I remember pretty vividly, like early, mid, probably up until like 57, 58, I was probably up to 60 actually. Starting with Fuzz when he was GM, asking me about some trades that we were looking at in Carolina. And I was test simming a couple different possibilities of trade outcomes compared to our existing state. And I think I often, at least in privately, would sort of wonder why teams were, because like I would see like somebody get posted on the block, and then within the day that rental was being sold, and I'm like, okay, so I don't think that this was like deeply looked at or deeply considered, and like watching that unfold from like an untested perspective, which obviously probably healthier that you can't test all those things, but when that was available and seeing it not taken was kind of entertaining.
Yeah. I think even back then, like the idea that, oh, this player has more TPE, so that must be a straight upgrade for me. Like I think that, the people who knew Six really, really well, definitely knew that was not really the case.
Yeah.
All the time.
I mean, there were some like clear upgrades.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it depends also, like, does that person know how to build? what team are they coming from?
Mm-hmm.
What's their background there? How are those TP invested? But I think now it's even more like you don't really know. Like you can't. There is no. Oh, is this a good build? Like you can look and see. Oh, this person has 18 in fighting. Probably don't trade for them. But
yeah, you're more seeing like
there's no clear cut. Yeah, this is a great build. This is going to be a great upgrade.
Yeah.
We should spend for this right now. It's going to help us win. You just
you're more having to look at like, is this player good at what we want somebody in their prospective role to do?
Which honestly, I think is better for the league than what was prior, because as someone who's been in that spot of trying to trade for pieces to make the team better with San Francisco, I feel like we looked at how their player was built, but we also and this should be a part of every trade, is looking how they fit in the locker room more than anything else. Like their build matters, but you're looking for that locker room presence first, and then looking for and then making their whatever they're built, however they're built, work in your team. Like that, it's almost secondary. And especially now where, people don't know how builds really affect, teams in FHM 8 at this point.
Yeah.
I think that, you're seeing teams kind of sit and wait, and, they're happy with who they have in the locker room, and nobody's really willing to make that risk because you just don't know how builds are going to affect your team.
Mm-hmm.
And again, totally different animal in the J versus the SHL.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely,
like, in the SHL, if you can bring in someone who is that locker room presence, and you can say, okay, even if this doesn't work right now, maybe it'll work in 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah,
right.
We can work with this. Whereas in the J, if you're bringing in a rental, you're one and done if that doesn't work.
Yeah, and honestly, that was a mindset that Fuzz carried a lot in LAP, and there was definitely a transition, having worked around Fuzz deeply in the J and then deeply in the SHL. Like the mindset of trading both at the deadline and trading to improve the team does shift, because the J having that firm cutoff makes it so much easier to evaluate situations.
Yeah, for sure.
But you were Smith. You were talking about the locker room additions, and it just reminded me of the funny anecdote when I had traded for Gifter of Bikes. He notoriously doesn't use Discord, and we knew that going into negotiations. But we brought him in for what we thought was going to be for a playoff run, and then for an additional season after that. He got called up early, but for that playoff run, this was back before the forum locker rooms got deleted, and we hard migrated the Carolina presence from Discord, and we're actively using the forum locker room for a little bit just to include them. And I think that kind of was a fun little thing for everybody, that everybody had a lot of fun getting into that old school style of interacting on the forums.
I think it's a really good thing to do when you have someone like that. It's just, I think for a lot of teams it wouldn't really be feasible.
Oh yeah. No, I wasn't trying to
that's
say that's how
it might be a special case in that point, but moving your entire locker room back onto the forum would be so difficult for a lot of teams.
Yeah,
because your reliance on bots for PT reminders, or for the Azron bot being there.
I mean, we still use the Carolina Discord, but we were moving we had a consistent general discussion thread going for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just as a way to A, be inclusive, but B, have a little bit of fun with the situation.
Yeah. Although I have to say that while the forum locker rooms were active, I don't think I ever posted in one, Maine or San Fran or any of the other. I just didn't. There was no reason to go in there, because even in season 50, 4/5, when I joined, they were dead at that point. So, it's weird for me to say try and hold your conversations on the forums because I never did that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I ever used one of those. Like, I know I was in them. I know I was still in the Chicago forum, like, locker room way after I wasn't there anymore. I think the only time, like, we all ever interacted in there was like some post that was like from way back where someone was like, this team's never gonna win anything. And so the year that we won our cup, and like we all just went in that thread.
Nice.
Let's see. Other big news, I guess, that comes with the trade deadline. We saw the beginning of the long-fabled S69 class. When was Justice's thread about that first posted? Like back in like 2019 or something?
A long time ago.
Yeah, back in, let's see. Yeah, April 10th, 2019 was the S69 anticipation thread.
Hell yeah.
Context, that is like 3 months after I joined SHL.
Yeah, no, that is 8 months before I joined the SHL.
Yeah.
So very surprised that Justice created 2 seasons prior to that. Hoping he doesn't recreate in like a week.
Wait.
I kind of need him in Carolina still, but
no, he's gone already. He's done.
It's gonna be the thing that happens on this call.
Yeah. Oh god.
That's right. Yeah. Seven loses a key player in Carolina because he mentioned it. It wouldn't have happened if you hadn't said anything.
Spoke it into existence. But
quick, somebody tag him in the locker room and say you have to do it now.
No. So there's obviously a lot of recreates jokingly or seriously eyeing season 69. Most notably, we had guys like Trella and Bromanov say, hey, I'm creating a player for season 67, but like heads up, I'm retiring in like 4 months. From a GM perspective, I guess, are you guys expecting a lot more creates? Expecting a few more? Expecting a pretty normal class? It's obviously going to be slightly recreate heavy, but outside of that, what do you guys see coming?
I have been dreading this as both a rookie mentor and a JGM.
Oh, that's fair. I forgot the rookie mentor angle.
Can't wait to join the season 69 server so Jess can be my rookie mentor again.
Honestly, pretty excited for it. I knew we had at least 3 people who were going to be recreating for season 69. 4 if you include Trella's perma backup goalie chasing cups.
Yeah.
And I know if we have that many people, like there's got to be at least 4 other teams that probably have like 2 or 3 people at minimum. So
yeah,
it at least makes the first round really solid, like the past 2-3 seasons.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited for. I'm really curious if we can actually get quality depth through 3 rounds, which is a rare thing if you look historically through drafts. It's a really rare thing.
Yeah, you kind of need like the volume and like the quality increase that comes with a deep recreate class or a Reddit class to get that far at the SHL level, at least. J level, yeah, I mean, like it's easy to hit that.
Yeah, there you go. That Rugsy question in the chat.
Yeah. So, Trips had mentioned
extra value.
Trips had mentioned largely trading out of this draft class, which is a little bit notable as a team that is like in the retooling phase.
It makes sense because of how just the sheer volume of picks that he's had in 67, 68. But I think that is extremely rare.
Yeah, I think the value out of the season 69 picks really comes from the quality of recreates that you're going to get. Like, these are people that, you know, like Bromanov and Trella, who previously had players who were fantastic and they're really good locker room presences, and it's good to see them come back after being gone for so long. And I think that those draft picks gain value because of the names that will be in this draft and how deep it could be with those recreates. You're probably going to get a lot of people, if Reddit recruitment goes well, that you see haha funny sex number, let's join for that, and then don't show. But I mean, even then, it's you're driving engagement with the league, so it's not really a bad thing. But I think that those deeper draft picks in season 69 could have some good value because the steals of the first gens being driven to lower picks because of the depth of recreates at the top of the draft. That could be really good for some teams. So
well, it also just like the season 69 picks you felt more comfortable trading for further out because the likelihood that this class was a historically smaller class, I will straight up throw classes under the bus like season 51, 52.
Yeah.
And even Jess's class. Jess's class was a historically smaller class, especially in the past 10 seasons that surrounded it. From active players. It's just like it removes that level of anxiety or doubt about trading for that type of pick.
Yeah, it's with that regard, it as far as like confidence of size of class, you can consider it like somewhere close to like somewhere between a normal draft and a Reddit draft, but you have a very strong certainty about it being at least an average to above average class.
Yeah, you'll at least be happy with your first round pick no matter what, or you should be with the options you have.
I think it's going to be interesting to see the recreates in the next couple seasons who are people who did not want to be in S69.
Yeah,
I think that's another wild card there.
Yeah,
I know a couple of people that I've talked to who are like, oh, I was going to recreate soon, but I don't want to be in all that mess, so I'm just
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure Flex actually recreated early ahead of the draft. I think Smith like had briefly considered it but wanted to go later. I definitely don't fault wanting to get away from 69. I actually a long time ago, probably like a year ago, said there's going to be like a subset of people that are going to be clever about this and create in like 67 or like 72 to be like either ahead of the heavier recreate class and either 67 to be ahead of the recreate class in the J if they care about outperforming in the J, or they're going to be like 72 so that they'll like spend like if they're planning on a longer career, they'll spend most of their career at or ahead of the big wave of people. I think that's definitely going to be on not a lot of people's minds, but on some people's minds.
Sure.
Yeah, you try and be like you have smaller or less generational competition, I guess, across the history books.
Yeah, I mean, and like it sounds weird, but like that's a legitimate thing that like some people are concerned about as recreates. Like, hey, my first player didn't see a lot of success. My second player, I want to give myself every chance I can. I put in my dues. Let's take a little bit more effort to give myself the best chance to like see success on this player.
It's me. I'm people.
Let's see. We'll jump ahead a half second to MCP's user question. He had asked, how many Swedes do you think we get for season 69?
No idea.
Yeah, which is a hard one to answer.
It's so random because like the country choice during player creation is just such a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it's like right now, but when I created there was a forum post that says these are the team needs, and it hadn't been updated
Yeah.
it hadn't been updated in like 10 seasons. I was just like, all right, looks like Sweden needs a defenseman.
Yeah.
And
I think
yeah, I gotta update ours. It hasn't been updated since I think before, like, it hasn't even been updated with when Roast was.
Yeah, I think Canadice's tracker is like built to take on that role. I'm not sure where it's actually set up at this point.
Yeah.
Create unassigned, get tampered, kids.
Create unassigned is probably the way for a lot of recreates.
Oh, for sure. Because then you get an extra round of recruitment and scouting and trying to lure you to a team. Like it's just that much more fun to deal with all the international teams.
Yeah, like I fully get guys like Trella who like are deeply ingrained in Czechia.
I have a narrative.
Yeah,
I can't just throw Elias Ekholm Gunnarsson into like Australia or whatever.
Right.
So my suggestion for people, like the hardest thing in this league is staying active and doing things when you're banking TP about to go up to the SHL level. Yeah. Like season 3-4, it's just like it's dry. So my advice, and the whole reason why I didn't go inactive was because I left myself as unassigned and was tampered for those 2 seasons. And it was fun just hanging out in those different random locker rooms that reached out, which are really only active like 3 or 4 weeks out of the season, maybe 2.
But it keeps you entertained and active through the downtime of like the off season.
You better believe I loved posting Queen Elizabeth gifts in Great Britain, bless her heart, rest in peace, and all that jazz, and like it's just fun. So go do it, test the waters, see where you like to be.
Mm-hmm. I guess follow up to that, and ACAP was also asking, what can we do to draw more interest to the WJC and IIHF? With it, I guess generally being considered a valuable thing for the league by most, how do you incentivize people to pay attention to it? People generally aren't paying a ton of attention to it unless they're already ingrained. Like we were mentioning, like people are probably just going to be picking at random a lot. People are going to be coming in unassigned. People aren't going to really... There's going to be a few people that are deeply entrenched in a federation at creation, but a majority of them aren't. So you've got a lot of people not like heavily tied to their WJC teams. How do you drive interest in the WJC? How do you drive interest in the IIHF when it does have an important role for the league, especially in like those 3rd and 4th seasons that we mentioned? Is it a visibility issue? Is it an incentive to care issue?
I think it's a little bit of both. I definitely think WJC could do with some more visibility, for sure. I think that it's, like, not to, like, throw anybody under the bus or anything, but last season, the season before, we're kind of like, this is just this thing that happens to be going on.
Yeah.
Like, there was, like, a stream that happened in, like, a Discord server somewhere at one point. And, people don't know what teams they're on. They're, they don't have any reason to feel connected to that. I think that if you're, I recognize that we can't have one-for-one parallels between all of the IIHF nations and all of the WJC teams.
Yeah.
There's just not, like, the body count for it. But I think if you're picking up players who may or may not ever play for your team again, like, make them excited that you picked them.
Yeah.
Tell them why you picked them. Not just, oh, well, your team didn't ever for you, so I guess you're stuck with us.
Right, yeah.
Was there a systematic change that happened within the past 10 seasons for WJC with how teams are assigned or designated that I don't know about?
Technically, no, but functionally, yes. So FHM 8 gave us... I'm trying to think of exactly how it happened. I can't remember if we needed more players, so we made a few more teams, or if we needed teams to fill out the format.
Because because last time I knew about WJC, you had your Team Finland, you had your like Team World, which included Norway and Japan, and
World was like the catch-all, and then you had like DOC and UCorCal, and then like federations.
Yeah, you had like 2 Canadian teams and 2 USA teams most of the time.
So
is it still like that, or is it different?
It's slightly different. In that there's a Team World, a Team North America, and a Team Ice, which is like, so you have additional catch-all teams.
Okay.
And it's been I think it was needed because we were having issues with formats, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
That makes sense.
But however it happened, what it ended up being is that teams would pick established teams. So all the federations, DOC, UCorCal, picked their rosters, and then the remaining players were drafted by. They might have just ended up on Team North America and Team World, and then like at that point you were like swapping people around to get everybody on a team and dressed.
Okay.
It was like pretty messy overall. But also like happening in such like an insular environment that like we couldn't even really track what the process was unless you were like actively involved in it. If you were involved in it as like a WJC, HO, or GM. But like the players were kind of wondering what was going on. Like at the SHL level and the IHF level, nobody was really able to tell what was going on. So there was a lot of visibility issues in that regard.
Okay. Yeah, I've obviously been pretty removed from that environment for a while, and I'm very blessed and fortunate with the people that I interacted coming into the league. Like Team World GMs were Dexteria and Namlet, and like we were we just had stupid active people during coronavirus. So it's like it's hard to imagine what is going on currently for me.
Yeah, so. That is definitely a part of it, is that like it requires and just mentioned it 30 minutes ago or so with talking about the demands as a Fed head or a coach during IHF of like, hey, I've got like 2 weeks of like setting up FHM lines and like running it back day after day. But like it's over such a short window. You find out about it so close to the tournament starting. It's a very, relative to other jobs, it's going to sound weird, but it's a very time intensive thing just for in the like condensed period that it takes place during. So I think that has hurt things. I think that it's obviously felt the pain of lower interest in GMing in general. I think that FHM8 will help with that a little bit, but like that's still a definite problem across all leagues. Where I think it was easier to hop into WJC GMing during the Simon T era. I'm not really sure how to fix that, because by the time people understand what goes into GMing WJC, they don't have the same perspective as like a fresh-faced rookie does. So it's hard to really get a grasp on how it's presented. That's not a desirable thing to newcomers to the league, I think.
That makes sense. Are there currently job openings for that I can pass along to some newer faces that might be interested in?
There will be. It should happen soon. We were having some turnover on the WJC side.
Okay.
But ideally, I think those get put up earlier, and there's a little bit more hand-holding and tutorial as far as like, hey, this is what you will be doing, this is what it looks like, this is how you do it, etc.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I've seen from a few people around they have interest in GMing.
Yeah, it just didn't really exist over the last little stint.
I know like being involved in WJC was actually like a huge foot in the door for a lot of people to get into GM roles.
Yeah.
In the past. So.
It was definitely not for me. Just because when I did it with MCP for Sweden, and I did not have a PC. I'm on a Mac, and it was Simon T, so like I couldn't do it.
SOL.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, I guess I'm your co-GM. Here I am.
Yeah.
I'm useless.
You're there for the locker room presence and more than anything else.
It's okay. MCP
was
was always a solo lead anyway.
So ideally we should see, and maybe not this season, but starting next season, we should start to see more proactive WJC starting up. Like, not having it start up like halfway through the playoffs, but you're like getting stuff ready and getting stuff started a little bit earlier and giving people a little bit of time to like, actually, get involved and learn the stuff that they're doing. I think that you obviously have to have the international and SHL seasons overlap a little bit. And I think that there's a point where you can start WJC early enough that like it will help that situation a little bit. It's come up a few times in the GM chat and in the international GM chat that some people have different perspectives of how much WJC and IHF GMing should be considered stepstones to other platforms. So, like, should WJC GMing be a stepstone to SHL? Should it be a stepstone to IHF co-head, or IHF head, that one's a pretty easy one, I think. And should IHF heads be a stepstone to SHL GMing? Jess, you're the one that's done this the most, but I know that Smith and Dwight have spent some time pretty deeply invested in the international side. How do you guys perceive the link between international and domestic play from like the GM pipeline?
Yeah. I think that the WJC hiring or trying to hire as many new managers or GMs as possible is a really good way to get people invested in FHM and learning the system. Even if they don't end up becoming GMs elsewhere in the league, I think just having that experience in your locker room allows you to maybe they'll be your coach, or help you figure out lines, try and see how people's builds play out. It's kind of just it is a good stepping stone, and I really like that they do hire so much. It can be a little scary, I think, as for a new player to say, I'm going to step in and take over this team without any experience. But the international side provides that shorter season, shorter tournament, so it's not as big a deal if things don't work out.
Almost lower stakes in a way too.
Right. It still sucks to see your team not do super well, but you're still learning. So and you can apply that. You can say, okay, well, I've done that, I've tried, and I've learned, and now I'm going to take that experience to my J team or my SHL team and learn more. So I think it is a great experience for anyone out there who's looking to get into some sort of management. Go for it.
And if nothing else, it will tell you right away if you want nothing to do with this.
Yeah. If you pick it up and you're not having like any fun with like the managerial side of either level, then like obviously it might be.
That's not your thing.
It's probably not your thing, but like.
And that's totally fine. But at least you know.
Yeah, Do you think as somebody that has experience at both levels, do you think it prepares you for JGMing or SHL GMing, Jess?
Back in the day, yeah, because I like that's where I first started learning Aviation 6.
Mm-hmm.
Was in Sweden. Like that was my first gig.
Yeah.
So like that was the first time that I like learned how to test and like figured out, oh, this is how you work this thing. And
yeah,
no, it's not shady for me to be removing the commissioner password. That's just what everyone does. And I was so paranoid. Let me tell you, they were like, just do this, and I was like, is this okay? Am I allowed?
Dude, me too. Me too.
I think I'm supposed to do this. Yeah, I think in the current climate, I don't know that it really would prepare you for either of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I still firmly think that SHLGM and SMJHLGM are not the same job at all.
Yeah.
And
right.
I don't want people to feel like, oh, you're good at this, it's time for you to move on, because like I really strongly value the skill set of people who can engage with newer users and keep them engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I don't feel like we should be kicking those people out the door just because they're good at the game.
Sorry guys, I'll see you in the SHL.
Yeah, get out of here.
Like,
actually, wait, no,
awesome.
stay in the J. Get out of here.
Like, yeah, if that's what you're doing it for, yes. You know, like if that's your goal, sure. But I know I've heard people complaining like, oh, the JGMs, they don't want to go up to the SHL, and I'm like, you know, people say, oh, it's because SHLGM chat is so toxic, which it's really not. Like,
no, I mean, I do think that's gotten better.
Yeah,
it's really fine. Yeah.
We got angsty.
I'm gonna something's gonna happen because we're on this call and I'm looking at.
Right. Yeah.
They're dropping slurs when I go back, but
time to lay down the banhammer, Jess.
Somebody called Kez a boomer.
Oh, that happens all the time. I don't know. It's no longer a slur.
Mills is short. What
Mills
else
is short.
new?
Yeah, it's become a running joke instead of a slur at this point.
Yeah, like I like the work in the J because that's what I like. I like getting people excited about it. I'm very bad at math. I do not want to do an SHL budget ever. No thanks.
Yeah.
Let me stay with my little budget that I just would have to very actively try to screw up. Yeah, I think probably maybe IHF is a little bit more like just from the sense of, you know, figuring out whether you like to do stuff in the game.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of it really, you know, without testing, it's not like you're getting a lot of sim knowledge that you're going to be able to translate into that new job. If anything else, I guess maybe you would discover some previously unknown people skills you could.
Yeah. I was actually just thinking IHF had probably feeds into JGMing better than into SHL GMing, I think. Like you're one of those first points of contacts for new users at that point. And like maybe you're not, you know, interacting with them as like a coach to player level, but you're interacting with them on a locker room level for like those first couple seasons while they're in the J. That's a valuable thing, and like that I could see translating pretty well.
For sure. You're not dealing with a budget.
Yeah.
You're generally like you're not, and I mean, there's like obviously I don't have to tell you there is some trading.
Yeah.
The J, but it's not like the focus. It's not like generally that's not how you build your team. Like that's how you finish your team. It's not how you like go at it from scratch.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, every once in a while we see that.
I mean, you can try, but then you're going to be building it from scratch the other way in a couple seasons.
I feel like if you're seeing a lot of trade that's more selling than buying, it's not. It's rare to see people buying up a bunch of people on the block just because they're trying to build a team. It's more like, hey, we're trying to start a rebuild, or we're ready to start a rebuild, so we're selling all of our prospects, selling everybody. It's rare that it's the other way around.
Or, hey, my 3 players that are graduating this year are Fuzz, my co-GM, and a 250 TPE defenseman.
Right.
I guess I can sell Fuzz.
Right.
taking everything that's not nailed down, I guess. The Trips' question kind of plays into what we were talking about earlier. What do you think about the ups and downs of the nature of GM apps? As far, I guess he's specifically meaning volume, because he goes on to ask why is he still without a co-GM after 5 months.
It's because nobody wants to be your co-GM. That's why. It's just they're like, oh, co-GM spot. Oh wait, it's Trips. No, I don't want to do that.
So it's been something that we've mentioned a couple times, even like back when, like in the last stint of Hockey Talk, like back in April and back last year, that there is a hesitancy to like engage as a GM, like to get engaged at the GM level, more so at the SHL level. Although I think the reasons might have shifted, and I'm wondering about your take on that, Jess. And I guess Dwight, because Dwight also doesn't have a co-GM right now.
No, technically it's Zomp.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I forget.
Not a strong independent GM anymore.
I did that. Waste of cap space, or waste of 8 mil. So
yeah,
that's right.
Better give it to someone.
Just launder money, 5 head.
Exactly.
I think there's a few things. I think, and I think we're maybe getting to a better place on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think for a while it was just, like people didn't want to do it because they knew that if they wanted to be good at it, they were already behind people who had tested for bazillion years
Mm-hmm.
and knew all of these things about the game that, those people just know, and it's not written down anywhere. You're just like fumbling around trying to like brute force test your way into knowledge that other people have already had for seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think the resources on the knowledge were not there, and we don't really have that now either, but everybody doesn't have it, so it's a little bit more of an even playing field.
Yeah, what you need to do is you need to find a GM like Toast or like Henrik who just lets you be a co-GM that does almost nothing, and then you just get to hang out and get paid, like kind of like Zomp for Dwight. You're just hanging out and you get to be part of the face of the locker room, and you don't actually have to do anything. It's great.
Hey, I heard you post box scores.
Oh, that's true. I did post box scores, and I did occasionally help out with budget and.
You were kind of limited
GM
because you
tasks,
just don't understand hockey.
That's true. Yeah. But good news is I was a successful co-GM without knowing anything about hockey, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I think that I think the big reservations of like the testing gap, the knowledge gap, I think that's gone down. I think that the idea that GM chat is very toxic has gotten a lot better. I think that we've seen a shift in how long it takes to rebuild a team. That's gotten a little bit shorter and easier.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like the old reasons are definitely diminishing. I think that there's still a slightly daunting level of commitment. I think that while it's not a bad thing, and it's not, it feels like there's a slight air of this is a mentally draining thing. It's no longer like SHL GM chat is toxic, but I think more GMs are a little bit more open of like this can be something that just like exhausts you for like a week and a half.
Yep.
And while not wrong, and I wouldn't want to be like disingenuous about that. I think that is going to inherently be a slightly off-putting thing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the culture of the league has shifted in a way that the culture of the league has shifted, society has shifted, and like GMing might just be less appetizing than it once was. through no fault of like anything that anybody's actively doing.
We definitely all have less just sit around at the computer time than we probably did a year and a half ago. I'm sure is part of it.
Yeah.
I wonder if, and this is just me just spitballing, because like we have coaches in SHL, but it's just such like a loosely recognized position.
Mm-hmm.
You know, half the time like people are doing it, and like, do we even know who's doing it for what team? You know, half the time the like Coach of the Year award is just like it's the same people.
Yeah, it's just
2 awards for this.
Yeah.
Which is like not something that I especially care about myself. I'm like, but in SSL we just like today created a tactician role.
Yeah.
That's actually like compensated and like has pay like a coach GM, but doesn't have any of the other responsibilities.
Yeah, no responsibilities, no privileges like that.
If further breaking down the like making the division of labor a little bit more granular, I wonder if it would help.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, you know, because I know there are people like me who like we love the people stuff and all of the tactics and game stuff that comes second.
Yeah,
like we're in it for the people. So I wonder if, you know, getting it down onto a level where people could be more recognized for individual contributions there,
mm-hmm.
And to be compensated for that, where like they're actually being rewarded and not just like, yeah, sure, you can do that for that team, whatever, over there.
Yeah,
maybe.
I do think that is something that I think I'd like to see at this point. There was a pretty common argument against it for a while that was, okay, but then you're just going to pay people for, like, you just put somebody there and give them money for free. Like, if you're you know, one that likes doing all the FHM stuff, you can just, like, pay somebody more money. And, like, yeah, but, like...
You can do that with a co-GM.
Yeah, like, that already exists.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as... I don't know, strong of an argument after we've seen a couple GMs fly solo or have a pretty clear division of labor as it already exists. Like, you have like a GM fully responsible for one thing and the co-GM responsible for the other, or you have like the GM responsible for both things and the co just like along for the vibes, like Smith.
That's right. Just a vibing.
And it's very like even in teams where there is a clear division of labor, it's very clearly like stated. Like nobody ever says, "Oh, this is what this person does, and this is my job." And even if they both like know it, it's not like anybody has responsibilities posted somewhere.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I'm sure like, I can't speak for like every team, but like, there's 34 teams. The chance that one of like the GMs or co-GMs is going to have like something going on for a month. So they like do less work and the other person does more work. Like you're not gonna start docking pay based on like how many hours they log in Discord or anything like that. Like sometimes people are just gonna like be in their positions, do the best they can, and like have a lot of guidance from the other people involved. And I think that like making that a valid position for like people to aspire to can go a long way. And that also like fully takes the FHM burden out of the co-GM role and turns it into entirely a social role and like planning role. And I think that gets a lot more enticing.
Yeah.
There's more room for like the absolute freaks of nature who just really enjoy FHM.
Dwight.
And just want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, if I had been asked to like take over FHM as co-GM, I probably would have stepped down a lot sooner than I did.
Mm-hmm.
It was the fact that like I didn't have to worry about FHM, that I was able to handle the social aspects and like the budget and the other things that like the stuff that I cared about, because I didn't really care about tactics at all.
Yeah.
Like being able to take on those roles really allowed me to get into co-GMing, even though, you know, I didn't have anything to do with FHM. So, yeah.
I just fell backwards accidentally into being the FHM person. First in
You kind of fall backwards into all of your roles.
Yeah.
I really do. It's just like, I get these. I get brought on as co-fed head in Sweden, and then Stammer just disappears from the face of the planet. And I'm like, okay, so I'm doing this, I guess. I don't know how to do this, but I'll figure it out. And then basically the same thing happened in Nevada.
Yeah.
But
hey,
yeah,
at least Jax didn't cheat his...
I was not supposed to be the FHM person.
Yeah.
And now here I am. The FHM person.
Alright, so Jess, as all-powerful HO, your responsibilities for the week are get rid of the Thunderdome,
Okay.
make a coaching position. What else? Establish a better structure for the WJC.
Oh, wait, that is your department.
Well, no, because depending on who you ask, the WJC doesn't report to the IHF.
Well... Oh, Lord.
That was a conversation.
Uh,
All right. It's been like
a lawless realm.
It kind of was
Governed by no one.
Kind of was.
We're gonna wake up one day and WJC is just gonna be on like EHM or something. We're gonna be like, what happened here?
I'm surprised it's not there already, honestly.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it'd be kind of funny.
That'd be hilarious.
Just do all of WJC and 2K.
WJC is now a soccer simulation and is run through a franchise manager.
I'm down. It's a great viewing platform.
Yeah, the live A+.
Join the SSL. Use football is cool. FU.
I'm not sure you're allowed to do that. Yeah, you're probably allowed to do that.
Recruiting? For recruiting? Yeah, of course
Yeah.
you can.
100% you're allowed to.
Nah, you should put me as recruiter because
you're not gonna get anything for it right now.
Wait until recruitment week and then hook me up. Yeah, wait till recruitment week.
It's been about an hour and 20. Let's hit some closers. Tesla gave us an absolute boatload.
Oh boy, some of them are wild.
Yes.
They always
Dwight, would you like to pick one to ask?
I haven't seen the list of questions.
Oh my god. Smith, go.
Oh, I liked the international manhunt one.
Okay, so you find a t-shirt in a thrift store that says, I joined the international manhunt for sketch of your name and sketch of your face, and all I got was this stupid shirt. Do you buy it?
And the answer is 100% yes.
Absolutely.
Like, why wouldn't you? Sounds
Pretty
incredible.
That's really clever.
Especially since I was apparently being.
I mean, you were
internationally
definitely a
and
participant.
didn't know about it.
Yeah. You did join the manhunt.
Yeah. Oh, you're just living my life. Apparently, I was being manhunted.
You just like give it to the friend that's with you, and then if anyone asks questions, you can just
There
say,
you go.
"Oh, I caught them."
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I got this covered.
Relevant. If you were driving down the road and saw a perfect doppelganger of yourself hitchhiking, what would you do?
Probably pull over and pick them up and try and become best friends, and then confuse the shit out of people.
Oh, your reaction was very different than mine.
Oh, is yours gonna run them over?
Like that horror movie that I didn't see because I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, like if I see them and I'm like, oh, that kind of looks like me, I'd probably just keep driving. If I see them, I go, that's me. It's murder on sight.
Yeah, it's some dude in a bro tank running down the side of the road in his bright ass running shoes.
Yeah, no, if it's just somebody
with a shaker of like
a shaker of G Fuel.
It's somewhere around. It's on the floor. Yeah, if I see somebody that looks like me, that's fine. If I
You'd
see
run
somebody...
him over for the kicks.
Yeah, you're taking his shoes and his cool tank top.
Devin doesn't even notice that it looks like him. He's just like, this guy is sweet.
He's like, holy shit, these shoes are sweet.
He's like, oh god.
No, I feel like it's like a supernatural situation. And obviously, like this, I'm gonna preface this with, this is clearly not a realistic situation, But if for some reason there was a clone of me, there can be only one. Like, I'm not messing around with that. Like, it's them or me.
Yeah,
that's fair. I get told I look like too many people that they've seen before. So.
Your real life doppelganger already plays for the New York Football Giants. So.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to just keep driving by.
Yeah. I don't know
if you're confused,
if you guys have ever made this
look
connection.
Look up an image of Daniel Jones, and you'll know why.
It doesn't make sense right now because my hair is a little longer. Just wait until it's proper.
That's Dwight.
No, it makes
proper cut.
Sense.
It's Dwight.
Jess, what are you doing with this doppelganger?
Like I said, I know of the movie that I haven't seen, that Us movie where there's like just like horror mirror versions of people or whatever.
Yeah.
No thanks. No, I'm just driving away.
Yeah. I don't like
Dwight,
that.
ACAP wants you to look at the camera so he can compare the photos.
Okay.
it's pretty close.
Sure very good trips, but I'm
It's
scared.
so good. It's so good.
It's a glamour shot pose right
there. It really is.
You know it.
Like the and everything.
It's got the background. Yeah.
Love it.
For the mood.
Let's see.
It's like a feather boa.
Yes.
Incredible.
All right. If you were stuck in a time loop where you died and then the day restarted over and over again, what slightly insanity-inducing song would be played every time you wake up?
The one that they use for Russian Doll.
Okay.
That one gets stuck in my head so much. It's so decent.
It wouldn't be a song. It would be the voice line from GTA. Was it San Andreas?
Oh shit! Here we go again.
Yeah. So the song from Russian Doll Show, it's called "Gotta Get Up" by Harry Nilsson.
Okay.
2 S's. It's positive. It's nice, uplifting.
Jess?
At least the segment they use.
It's gonna be just I'm gonna wake up to that opening noise from "Run Away with Me" by Carly Rae Jepsen.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Mine entirely depends on the perspective of the camera. If this is like a trippy thriller kind of movie, it's gonna start off with like that intro beat, or the start of the song "Intro" by the XX. If it's more of a like lighthearted, like summer movie, like some kind of like comedy, it's gonna be "Okay Go, Here It Goes Again."
Yeah, that's a good one.
Last one, because I just know that it's gonna be something weird. Agree or disagree, the eradication of Adobe Flash dress-up games directly led to the creation of NFTs.
This feels like disagree, because NFTs were a thing before the eradication of those games. In that CS:GO skins have been a thing for forever.
Okay, but those are NFTs.
It's close enough.
Pay money for artwork that only you can use.
Yeah. There you go.
I think this was more directed at the like drag and drop nature of like changing like outfits on the same initial avatar.
Sure.
Are there NFT paper dolls?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a good question. Untapped
think...
market. There you go.
Yeah, I was about to say we can cash in.
This is how we become millionaires.
Ladies and gents.
Can I kill the environment for paper dolls?
I mean, if you're not gonna do it, somebody else is.
The environment's already dead.
Oh God. Check.
Why are we checking the Discord general chat?
We're just in the simulation.
Oh boy.
I'm worried.
Oh god. No, it's fine. I was scared something terrible was happening.
I also was worried something terrible was going to happen.
That's great.
Oh, just the swaps.
They're the same picture.
It's the same picture.
I don't think that the eradication of the Flash games led to the creation of NFTs. I think that the initial existence of Adobe Flash eventually led to the cookie cutter NFTs that exploded in the money laundering. I feel like if NFTs were less reproducible and more individualized, they wouldn't have exploded into the money laundering scheme that they ended up exploding into. But I do think that, like, if not Adobe Flash dress-up games, it would have come from something else.
I'm just gonna say I'm unfamiliar with Adobe Flash dress-up games.
That's a lie.
That's a lie.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Dwight, you had a Webkins growing up, didn't you?
I plead the fifth.
I was more of a Neopets person.
Yeah.
Yeah, Neopets for real.
Yeah.
Because we all know that his time was sunk into Club Penguin.
Yeah, no, Jess and I are Neopets era. You guys are closer to the Webkins era.
I always joke about Club Penguin, but I never actually played
No, me neither.
Habbo Hotel.
Penguin. Oh, I saw.
Club Penguin is like screenshots of people saying inappropriate things and getting paid.
Yeah.
Every time I see any of those screenshots, I just think of Trella, and I don't know what that means.
Why?
Not that, like, Trella would say a lot of those things, but, like, I just immediately associate Club Penguin humor with Trella, and I don't know why.
Wow.
I can't wait to hear what he says about that.
He'd probably laugh and say, yeah.
You already know.
Incredible.
Let's see. Anything else you guys need to get in before we take a week off?
If you could rename any bug,
Okay.
which one and
Yeah,
what would you call it?
I take the roly poly and I make its scientific name roly poly.
That's fair.
Reasonable.
Spiders would be called long leg boy.
Jess's confusion only means that she has no idea what a roly poly is.
What?
That's not true.
Okay.
That is completely.
It just looked like you were
That's
in the
not
process of Googling roly poly.
No. Oh no. I was trying to figure out the context of the roly poly.
Oh, okay.
I went and I looked up another meme, and then I got distracted. Not appropriate to share on this PG rated podcast.
I'm not sure it's PG rated. Have you seen some of the things I've said?
That's
we don't
true.
have any commercial sponsors. So I don't really think it matters.
I'll send this here, and you can tell me whether this is appropriate. Sending it in the Skype chat here.
Oh, the Skype chat.
Skype chat. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh, that link I don't trust. I don't trust that link.
I think that hits our market demographic. Everyone in chat is
That's
above
incredible.
15, so.
Would you post it in SHL General?
I asked.
100% yes.
Am I not getting
Incredible.
banned? I'm about to post that in the Thunderdome.
Just defund the Thunderdome.
Oh,
Let's see.
This is what's gonna do it. You're gonna post that, and they're finally gonna be like.
they're gonna be like, all right, fuck it, shut it down.
Thunderdome has to go.
Shut it down.
Actually, I would post it in graphics because I've been saying for a while, if you're gonna post something in the Thunderdome, you might as well get paid for it.
You're right. Grok would appreciate that.
Yeah.
He would not appreciate that.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else? Oh, I have a cool media idea. If you're interested in doing some podcast space work, hit me up.
How did you stumble onto that meme? I can't get past that.
And
It's incredible.
It's so good.
Yeah, I think that's all we got. Thank you, Jess, for coming out. Thank you for staying up probably past your bedtime. I hope your voice feels better. And yeah, it was fun. Thanks for hanging out again, Smith and Dwight.
Yeah.
Keep on keeping on. We will see you in a week.